All right, today we're going to jump into a really powerful story from the Bible, from the book of Second Chronicles. It's all about how getting worship right can bring joy flooding back into your life. So, let's dive in.
This one verse, it's like the pivot point for the whole story. It's a call to action from a king who understood that this wasn't just about fixing a building. It was about transforming the hearts of an entire nation and leading them back to joy.
So, here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start by looking at the mess they were in, then see how the king stepped up, walk through the actual process of restoring worship, feel the incredible joy that followed, and finally, pull out the lessons this holds for us today.
Okay, so first things first, to really get why what Hezekiah did was so huge, you got to understand the situation he inherited. It was not good.
I mean, the Bible paints a pretty bleak picture. The temple, which was supposed to be the spiritual heartbeat of the nation, had just been abandoned. It was left to rot. That silence and decay was basically a perfect mirror of what was happening in the people's hearts.
But then, right into this darkness, comes a new leader, King Hezekiah, and what he does first, well, that's what changes everything.
And get this, he did not mess around. The verse says, early the next morning. This wasn't item number 7 on his long-term agenda. Nope, this was priority number 1, day 1. Restoring that connection with God was everything.
So what did this restoration actually look like? Well, it was a lot more than just sweeping the floors. The Bible lays out this very specific 3-step spiritual process to make things right again. And each step had its own purpose, It was a clear progression. First, owning up to the past, then recommitting for the future, and finally, just overflowing with gratitude. Now, this first step, the sin offering, was absolutely non-negotiable. Why? Well, you can't just slap a coat of fresh paint on a rotten wall, right? You have to deal with the rot first. And that's what this was. It was everyone as a nation saying, we messed up. We take responsibility for this. And once the king got the ball rolling, the people's response was just incredible. This wasn't some reluctant token gesture. They willingly brought 70 bulls,
100 rams,
and 200 lambs. This amazing outpouring was a real, tangible sign that a massive spiritual shift had happened. Their hearts were finally back in the game.
And you know what's so important here? This restoration wasn't silent. It was a full-on sensory experience. The priests and Levites filled the temple with cymbals, harps, and trumpets. Music was a crucial part of their joyful praise.
So, the temple is back in business. What happens next? Let's look at the immediate impact this had on the people. And spoiler alert, the change was profound, and it happened in a flash.
The result was immediate. The very second the offering began, so did the singing. There was no delay, no waiting around. The act of worship and the return of joy happened at the exact same time. And this wasn't some performance for a passive audience. No way. The entire assembly, every single person, was an active participant, bowing together. Just imagine how powerful that unified moment of worship must have been.
So the final outcome? Pure, unadulterated joy. And the verse even points out that they were amazed at how quickly it all happened. This sudden dramatic turnaround wasn't just their own doing. They knew it was a miraculous act of God.
So what can we take away from this incredible story? Well, it leaves us with 2 timeless lessons about worship and the kind of power it has in our own lives.
The first lesson, and this one is so important, is that God is way more interested in the heart behind our worship than the actions themselves. It's not about just going through the motions. It's about real devotion.
So the crucial point here is that sincerity, being all in, is way more valuable to God than just habit or empty ritual. Hezekiah led the people to give their whole hearts, and that's what God responded to.
So how do we actually live that out today? Well, here are a few practical ways we can shift our own focus from mere habit to that kind of wholehearted devotion we see in Hezekiah's time.
And the second big lesson highlights the unique power of worshiping together. There's just something special that happens when we gather as believers.
This story is just such a powerful reminder that we were not made to worship in isolation. Gathering as a community is God's design. It's an environment He created to lift us up and restore our joy in a way that just can't happen when we're alone.
Ultimately, this whole account leaves us with a profound and simple truth. Making worship a priority restores our hearts. The story of Hezekiah is crystal clear proof that when we return to God, He returns joy to us. So the question for us isn't just if we worship, but how we worship. If joy feels a long way off, maybe it's worth asking, is your worship too?